Welcome back, everybody. Live from the paddock.
What's up, guys?
F1 America.
Welcome to F1 America. Thank you for tuning in for your favorite place to get your news. You might not hear it first here, but we're the ones you like the most.
That's right. You know, we have other stuff to do besides just sit on the computer all day. Not anything crazy to talk about, but definitely some stuff. We'll talk about some rumor mill stuff, some really stupid comments, the racing predictions for the race. I'd like to start off by just stating how sketchy the FIA is. So the reason why I say that is,
Tell me more.
there's a rumor that the FIA provided Toto confidential info on Red Bull's cost cap breach from 2022.
Yeah, before Red Bull even heard anything about it.
So that's shady. That's shitty. Like that's just like I don't know. Like if you're supposed to be the higher up organization, whatever your stance is on the situation, I think we can all agree that's kind of shady. And I mean, I get it. Everybody's trying to get an edge, and I'm sure Toto wants them to get punished because he's been getting his cheeks clapped the last 5 years, 4 years.
Yeah.
So obviously he's trying to get that competitive edge, but at the same time, I mean, I guess it goes to show if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it goes to show, kind of your first comment of just the FIA is a little shady, if you want to say. Like,
It's
really,
political.
they're inconsistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, political. And so, it's kind of shitty that somebody on another team is going to have insider information before the team itself. I could see maybe those things leak like after the team, like
Already
say
had.
Red Bull, has already been kind of warned, and then people start catching wind. But and I looked at the story too, and basically it was somebody that worked underneath Toto previously
Gave him a hug up, like,
was
hey.
then working on like in the FIA, um, and then gave him some insider info, which is kind of interesting because um, Toto and his wife were investigated this year for some sort of insider knowledge because of her
F1 Academy.
F1 Academy stuff. And to my knowledge, they were clear of any wrongdoing or whatnot there. But it seems to be a little bit of a pattern.
How would it have come up? Because all the teams put out a statement saying, "Oh, nothing's happened, and we don't stand behind this." So what's going on? Does either the guy inside the FIA not like Toto, or does he love him and he's just like, I'm sure Toto. I'm not going to put it past Toto if he would have asked, like, "Hey, if you happen to come across anything." But at the same
Yeah,
token, like, or did the guy just be like, "Oh, I love Toto so much, I'm just going to casually slip him this information on the cost?"
that's
I
the
don't know.
vibe that I kind of got, right?
Yeah.
Was that they were kind of buddies, unless because why else would he tell him? Like, if he didn't like Toto, would he
Yeah,
give
unless
him a heads
Toto,
up?
maybe
Or
Toto, like, not paid him, but you know what I mean? He's like, hey, I'll help you out. Or maybe Toto, he's like, you're gonna owe me a favor, and you got him into the FIA. He
who
left
knows?
Mercedes and he got him a job. You never know.
Yeah,
But it's kind of similar. It's along the lines of regardless what your political view is, right? Like you always hear throughout history, what is it, Watergate scandal and stuff like that.
mhm.
Like political opponents spying on each other. This time it's teams spying on each other. Not spying, but getting
Well, and
info on each other.
they all do that stuff
Yeah.
anyway. Well,
So
what I'm kind of curious about is one, it's a couple seasons ago,
yeah, it's like
so
old news at this point.
it's
Like,
old
who
news.
cares?
Red Bull already got their penalty, which
Yes.
we talked about. I personally didn't think it was that big of a deal. Clearly, their car is not suffering like from lack of wind tunnel time, but nonetheless, they got punished, and like things moved on. Why is this servicing now? And is it really like, I guess, necessary to like, maybe it's necessarily in the fact of more light being shed on how shady the FIA is and how maybe choosing sides or whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, and there's comments, Alonso made the comment like, oh, they're racist or they side with certain
Yeah,
ethnicities
he should
or
move to England. So
yeah,
then,
yeah, depending on
yeah,
nationality and whatnot. It's kind of I feel like Toto, regardless who gave him the information, he went looking for it. Like you're just reopening an old wound that you're bitter about, and it's like It's like your parents get divorced, like, oh, mom,
Yeah.
dad, why don't you love each other?
Why is
anymore? It's
this
like,
just
no, it's
coming
just
to
like
light?
it's old news. Like we divorced 10 years ago, we're not getting back together. Like leave me alone.
Why is it coming out now?
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like I don't know.
So I think that's odd. And it just it goes to show like not everything's
Well, and
perfect. Most
does
organizations are
like
not perfect. I would say that.
Mercedes wouldn't get any type of performance edge knowing that their competitor went over, right?
Yeah.
Other than
Unless there's something specifically written in there. Oh, it was on Arrow and they spent X amount of dollars on Arrow or whatever. I don't know, motor package or whatever.
Christian said it was on catering.
Yeah.
Which I think is you can fudge the numbers to make it your catering budget now.
Hey, dude, it's
a
Buco de Beppo is fucking catering already. I'm sure it ain't cheap.
But it's like I guess maybe Toto wanted or used it as ammunition to get the FIA to penalize them or something, right? Because he knew
Potentially. I'm curious.
But it wasn't the FIA gonna do something about it anyway.
So hear me out here. So they served their penalty, right? This is I don't know if this is the first. I'm assuming this is the first time somebody's gone over the cost cap, right? Because this before there was
no cost cap, right?
So now there's cost cap, right? So FIA is like, hey, this is what we warrant is the punishment.
Yeah.
You don't think it's enough. Toto doesn't think it's enough. I think whatever, you pay your fine, move on. It is what it is. You weren't going to change the outcome of that title anyways.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you did. You'd have to take apart the car and say, hey, put it back together the night before the race and figure it out. But maybe if, say, Red Bull goes over the cost cap again next year, is their punishment going to be X worse? 2 times worse, 3 times worse.
Because
so
now they're
twice. It's a second offense.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's that, and then
maybe we'll find out.
or maybe like Toto's like, well, they already did this. Let me see what are my options here. Maybe I could just go over the cost cap and we'll catch up. I don't know.
That's kind of what I was thinking was going to happen. Was I thought last year a lot of the teams, like Mercedes specifically, would be like, well, that was basically a slap on the wrist, so fuck it, let's just throw 100 million over.
You would imagine though,
but clearly they didn't.
I would imagine, well, yeah, clearly they didn't. Clearly they need some new engineers. But and not saying I'm an engineer by any means. When I say
they had a consistent, I think they had a consistent finish this past weekend.
They also consistently went back to where they started last year with their car.
I mean, they're sitting fourth in the championship.
Yeah,
it's not
like
great.
a sorry fourth. It's not like a solid.
No, it's not.
It's like a fighting for every.
It's not like second, third, and fourth are very close.
Yeah.
Actually, first and second are closer, I think, than the others.
Yeah.
And McLaren's in third, right?
I believe
they're not too far away. I don't think either. I think fourth is definitely fallen off more.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely just like kind of an odd take on why you do it, why you would look into it, and stuff like that. Okay, constructors, we're looking at Ferrari's second. So Red Bull's 268, Ferrari's 212.
Yeah.
McLaren's 154th, 154 points. Jesus, I can't talk. Mercedes is 79. Dude, that top three is breaking away quick, and Red Bull is definitely
there's definitely a little bit of points gap in between, but there's quite a bit of points to be had on a race weekend, especially with 4 more sprints.
There's all those extra points in the sprints, and then on top of that, like
anything can happen. But I think what's interesting because
one DNF saves you, like that'll make it a big swing.
Well, and specifically now with these generation of cars, not just this one, but even the previous one, I've been seeing a lot of vintage stuff, like from the 90s and like early 2000s, and it's really interesting to see how the reliability has changed so much in the cars, because now it's like it's more rare.
The quality control is way better,
definitely,
than it even like 3 years ago. Because I remember Red Bull blows a motor.
Red Bull was blowing, and Ferrari was blowing a lot of motors.
Yeah, it was.
We'll see. Obviously things can happen, but
7 races in, you'd still see like a couple mechanicals. I mean, the only mechanicals we've seen is somebody not putting the wheel on all the way. It's more than once.
Yeah.
Williams, that happened to Albon this weekend, which if you had him, he really botched us on points.
Well, and Stake has been having crazy issues.
They've had longer pits in the first 7 rounds than Carlos Sainz had last year for the whole season.
I think there are already like accumulative pit times it hit 18 minutes or something like that.
It's wild. I forgot what the final number in seconds was, but it's like, Carlos's Sainz pit stops last year compared to this year. Stake has already passed it, which is crazy. We're not even halfway through the season.
For like a third, a quarter. What was this?
We're 4. Yeah, a quarter.
Right, 6 races.
Yeah.
Wild. I guess the race itself, Imola, was
I felt like it
pretty
made some.
exciting.
It was obviously not as exciting as maybe Miami,
Yeah.
and that's not because we had a different winner though, just because like there was definitely not
No,
there's less passing and
but
stuff like
I'd
that.
say, man, obviously it's one thing to catch up, it's another thing to pass.
Yeah.
But I think with a couple more laps, Lando could have had him.
I do. I could see that. I think what's his name? Max. I think he was on the tail end of those tires too, and he's probably trying to
Mhm.
salvage it. And he made it
Yeah.
known a couple times, right? Like he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, like my tires are shit.
Yeah.
And who knows if that's a mental game because he's done that before.
They all
They
say
all kind of do
shit
it,
and you
right?
don't
But
really
and I
know.
think
Yeah.
Lando's just like, I did it once. Let's
He's
do it.
kind of
Let's go get it.
hungry.
Let's go
Yeah.
get it again. He's like, and then especially hunting him down like that.
Mhm.
Was Max fully punched that whole time, or was he just like toning it back? He's like, was he at 90%, and you're just like riding it in because he knew he had the time and all he had. And then he's
Yeah.
like, oh, Lando gets on me. He's still got to pass me, and that track is narrower than most.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, I think we did see more passes than we anticipated.
yeah, and from the get go of the weekend, like FP 1, 2, and 3, like there's definitely like FP3 McLarens were 1 and 2 in FP3.
What I do like
So
about the track is that it generally bites the driver for making a mistake, right? Like going
yeah,
over track limits,
yeah,
all of a sudden you're in the gravel and in
yeah,
the
because you're
wall,
so close, and that
right?
has
So
never
I
been
do like
happened to
that aspect.
Lewis, happened to
Hmm.
Sergio,
I think
happened to
Alonso,
Alonso.
yeah.
That one corner cut that I don't remember. I think it was Charles had. Like you went for the shanty, he just totally blew it, and he like had to mow the
Oh,
yard.
yeah, yeah,
So that
yeah.
was definitely yeah.
So
Obviously,
I
lost
do
time there.
like
Tires got
those.
super dirty. So yeah, I mean, there's a and this kind of leads to my next question is should we keep Imola, right?
Yeah,
I think Imola is a better track than Monza personally. Like if we're gonna
yeah,
keep it like an Italian race,
yeah,
I'd rather go to Imola than Monza. To me personally, I think Monza is boring. It's just like it's like a straight line, chicane, sweeping, straight line, chicane,
yeah.
big long straight line into a bull corner, and then you
I
do
think,
it all over again. And it's like
yeah,
that's like one of the boringest races because it's just like it's a DRS race and you get in a train and it's like, all right, we can't do anything here.
yeah. I do think the all the little chicanes and like S corners and stuff are kind of cool on Monza.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's that one here on Imola where it's sort of a double apex, not quite because you have a little bit of straight, but there's like that left and then a little, and then you have to guess that left again, and that's the left that keeps catching everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's
It was
really,
at like the bottom of that hill, right? And it was
hmm,
like, and
yeah,
everybody
and
kept
that's,
pushing really wide and almost
yep,
grabbing the same track.
yep, and that's the other thing is there's a lot of elevation gain and
That's
loss in this track, which
that's what I was gonna
is a
say.
huge thing that the drivers have to deal
Setup,
with.
but it's huge on setup.
Yeah, and like, okay, do you have a tailwind? It's
Yeah,
like all of that puts a huge factor, which I think is fun.
I think that's cool too. Is like elevation change because like obviously coming from dirt bikes and stuff, we have a lot of elevation change. We have jumps
Hmm.
on the even like a flat track. You can have fun because you have stuff entertaining you.
Right.
Versus like a very flat track, there's no elevation gain. So it's like okay, yeah, Vegas. You have to have a lot of turns in Vegas to make the racing interesting. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have that one really long straight, but you have a lot of turns throughout. Monza, yeah, you have turns, you have elevation, but it's coming down to car setup, it's coming down to driver. It's really like extracting the most out of the car versus like you said, or Imola. But Monza, it's yes, you have to have some setup, but I feel like you're setting your car up for straight line speed for the most part,
Yeah.
and you're doing a couple quick chicanes. Um, so that's my personal reasons why I was like, if you're gonna get rid of
One of them.
one of
Yeah.
them, I say get rid of Monza. I think the only downfall, take this with a grain of salt, is the cars, we mentioned it before, are just so big.
Yeah.
So it does make passing on that track a little. If they widened it, I don't know what they need to do. I personally think scale the cars back down.
Well, and I think the next generation car is actually going to be smaller.
So I think that'll be better
Yeah.
because I heard Monaco is going to be off the calendar, so I don't know if if it's going to make sense or not.
Yeah.
But either way, I think the cars are still too big, regardless. I know Indy cars are a little smaller. Like if we were closer to like an Indy car size, Monaco would be a sweet race.
Yeah.
Like Indy cars racing
It
on
just
street
makes me
circuits
wonder,
everywhere.
are we going to lose performance in doing that?
I mean, you think about.
You know?
I don't think you'll necessarily lose performance because it's all at the end of the day, you're still doing 200 plus,
Yeah.
right? It's based on motor power. You're all doing 200 plus, and then aero is gonna if you scale it down enough, like you could still get the same aero and stuff like that. I think
they
if
even
anything,
showed
it makes
like
it
the
better.
difference between like the F2 versus the F1.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
or the F1 Academy
difference.
car.
Yeah.
Like if everybody was in say like an F1 Academy size car, but you still give the racers like that much punch.
Yeah, I wonder.
Maybe you
it
could
would be
tone it back.
interesting.
Like you could still get, you still get to 208,
So
210.
here's something that I heard because, well, and we're actually going to uh, talk about it a little bit.
Mhm.
So maybe I'll wait until we get into the actual like stuff about Max's comment and the
Oh yeah, yeah.
sustainability stuff.
I guess to top off Imola, what I thought was funny is, or two comments. Lando's like, "Yeah, I heard somebody went in the gravel pit and he was praying it was Max."
Oh yeah, I saw
basically.
that.
Which I thought was funny. But then
I was
Max,
afraid it was Max too.
yeah, I'm sure. But I think I remember hearing like a cheer on the screen, and I was like, "Oh, what was that?" But Max made the comment he was cruising around, everybody's clapping, whatever, and then one guy was like just like pissed off or something like that, or flipping him off. And then the next time around,
Oh,
he
that's
he
right.
flips him off and he's going by,
And then the
the
next
guy,
time around,
the guy was
the guy's
clapping.
yeah.
But then I saw another comment right before I came over here to do the show. Is that I guess the fan? I could be taking it totally out of context, but the fans are like were ecstatic that he flipped him off. So like I think it was, I don't know if it was a family or what, but I didn't read the full article. I just saw that was like the headline. I was like, oh, that's pretty funny.
That is
At least they're
funny.
good sports about it, right?
That's funny.
You see that, speaking of Mexico, you see that video about Sid the Sloth that Daniel showed him? He looks like Sid. And
He
dude,
does, but
Max took it on the chin. He's like, yep, I see it. I think it's like all the pre-race stuff they're doing in Monaco this week. They're like all hanging out, and you can see the water behind him and stuff. He's like, oh yeah,
that's funny. He does look like him.
It does. He does.
Yeah. So I think I'd like to see more tracks have the gravel and stuff right on the edge.
Make it more dangerous.
Yeah.
Or more.
Yeah. More.
Not dangerous for the driver, but more so like yeah. Exactly.
More consequence. Yeah. Like not like dangerous, but
yeah.
Because then I think we'd see less people pushing the track limits and like for the exploit of it, but also you just can't, right? Like so for the driver it would be better too because
he knows like, oh, I could get
like they're purposely not trying to instead of trying to not.
If you're lucky enough, you can carry your momentum through the gravel trap and come out on the other side.
If you're lucky enough.
But then if you're pushing the limit and you spin it, then you're like, oh well, I got shit with it.
You bury it or like
the one that comes to mind. The two come to mind: Coda as well as the French GP.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's asphalt everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like an asphalt,
huge runoff zone.
So you could blow. Cool. Like, you could blow a corner.
We
and just,
like those
jump back into
because they're so big. But the one downside is there's one DRS zone, so passing is harder, and the laps are not super long.
Yeah,
so
I could see that on Imola.
But I do like it. I mean, it got rained out last year, right? That's why we
didn't go there.
Flooding.
Yeah.
I did see the 2025 schedule just got released. I didn't think to look if Imola was on there still.
Actually, I didn't either. Well. Excuse me. I'm pretty sure all the same tracks are on there. I didn't see any new tracks. There's like, because I was looking at like, obviously there's the rumor about Chicago, and so and then they come find out that it's still in negotiations and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that could lead us into the next.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could dive into that. Personally, I don't think we need another American track. I think we need to get rid of something. If we do, I think Chicago's going to turn into another Vegas, depending on what time of the year you do it in, right? Like you have to do it when it's warm.
I think the track itself looks really cool. Whatever, it might have just been a mock-up, I'm sure.
The potential design, which would be great,
looks cool.
I feel like Chicago's way gnarlier of a setup teardown than say Vegas. Yeah, Vegas are all, but like Chicago's like not a lot of people live. A lot of people live in Vegas. Don't get me wrong, don't like take this out of context.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like Chicago's like
an actual huge metropolitan business.
That'd be like trying to do a race in New York. It's like you are going to be shutting down shit for like
like Wall Street's not going to let you do that.
Yeah, right? So
I think it looks cool,
but you have to do it during the summer.
Don't think as much as I'd love to have all these races in America, I don't think we need it. I think we're already showing that we have a huge support base here, and the sport is growing, but I don't think we need 4 races here.
Playing devil's advocate, if you want to keep it, I think you either get rid of Canada or you get rid of Mexico. If you want to add Chicago.
Yeah, but I think that's shitty. Like I think that's shitty for the Canadian fans. I think it's shitty for the Mexican.
Well, nobody cares about Canadians. A, let's get that out of the way.
Yes.
B, Mexico track kind of sucks.
I like the track.
I think it's those like two really tight corners, the one at the very
at the
end,
end,
and you make like you basically turn that like 290s into one big sweeping corner.
and
That section is kind of shitty for this size car. If the cars were smaller, then and you can make some pass, and there was passing there. I know that. So if there's any hate comms out there, hold them back because I can
well, I
acknowledge
think
that.
what's cool about that section is you really have to nail it well
Yeah,
in order to get the most out of that main straight.
yeah,
And
that
if you
next
screw
sweeping
that up, then you're
into that those S's.
Mhm.
Then I also think that tight section in the stadium, yeah, it's cool for pictures and whatnot, but at the same time, like that racing through that is terrible. Especially that first lap. It's so bunched up. It's literally like playing bumper cars through there. So that's why I don't think Mexico, or maybe we need to go to a different venue in Mexico. I don't know, but I don't know. So I also don't know where else they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would say. If I don't think you, with the current state and the races that we have, you can't take out Vegas because that's brand new.
Well, and the FIA owns that track. Like
Yes.
that's like their first signature track. Like that, I don't know why, but that's their
Yeah,
that's their baby. That's definitely not
that's not going
leaving.
anywhere.
I don't know
Miami's
why.
relatively new.
Yeah, Miami's super new and a lot of huge hype and stuff. I don't see that one going anytime soon either. Um, and honestly, Coda's like a lot of the drivers' favorite place to be.
Yeah, and Coda, honestly, especially for this size car, makes the most sense. It's like the one of the tracks you can actually get the most out of the car. It's plenty wide.
You can get a lot of actual racing.
And it's got high speed. It's got lots of turns, so it gives you the best of both
It's a
worlds.
big track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like okay, like it's like a super stadium speedway. Whatever.
The other one
super
that I
road
think is a
course.
pretty cool track is Sochi. It's the Russian one.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah,
we can't go there right now, or maybe ever again. But
I think that's stupid why they don't go there anymore.
I liked that track.
I think that also goes back to FIA and politics.
Yeah.
There's like no reason to not go there, but because they want to get involved with shit, and they want to make a stand or whatever. But we still go to Saudi Arabia,
Well,
and there's plenty of other
I
issues
think-
there.
is it-
And
where's the
all of
FIA
the races in the Middle East.
Where's the FIA actually governed out of? Because aren't they Middle Eastern?
A lot of the heads are Middle Eastern.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
Okay, yeah, maybe. But so there you go.
but I don't know where their like corporate office is.
Well,
I'm
and
definitely gonna
also-
write them a strong word to live there at some point.
I mean, all the wealthiest people in the world are the oil countries.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, technically too. Like we kind of hounded it. I don't need to dive back into it, but like we could always find a reason to not go somewhere.
Totally.
If we want to be
even places here.
if we want to be like super equal political rights,
Yeah.
child labor, like whatever. There's
Yeah.
plenty of places like I know actually it'd be interesting. I don't know if I'd be about it or not. Lewis said he would like to see a race in Africa.
Africa.
I don't know where you do it. I feel like it would
Probably
have to
somewhere
be
in Cape Town.
I think it'd have to be South
Africa
somewhere.
Yeah,
That's
because
the most I feel like
of
developed.
Africa's like not developed.
Yeah,
As far as I know.
maybe
like
what's
Monaco?
across what's across
Or Morocco, I mean.
yeah, I was gonna say Morocco. That's the one I was thinking of. I was like not
Yeah,
Monaco,
like
but it's in like that
Morocco or
northern
Egypt
tip
or
whatever.
something.
Yeah,
I think it'd be cool.
I think it might be difficult too though, and also like I mean I think that's to be one of those races too.
So here's my thinking on like they canceled a race, or they were thinking about canceling a race, or I forget exactly, a couple of years ago, somewhere in the Middle East where there's like political unrest, right? I think if that comes to the safety of the people putting on the FIA putting on the drivers, the teams, everybody, like even just traveling to an area that's dangerous, I think okay, sure, like maybe those shouldn't be on the calendar.
Right.
Outside of that, whatever their current geopolitical thing going on is, whatever they have going on.
I can see that. Like like
as long as it's safe to go.
Technically, if we want to go back to Sochi in Russia, there's no war in Russia. We could totally do that race. The war is not in Russia; it's in Ukraine, right? So it's like there's nothing going on there. Like we want to do it in Moscow, do it in Moscow. We want to do it in fucking Alaska, do it in Alaska. Like want to do it in Hawaii, by all means. Like let's do it in Hawaii. But it just kind of goes back. I think I'm sure there's a combination of money, politics. There's like a lot of shit that goes into that decision process.
Well, and aside from Vegas, like the cities themselves and the track, like as far as I know, they're the ones that put on everything.
Yeah,
they have to pay
coordinate
for
it
the
all.
whole weekend. They have to pay, So FIA doesn't really spend any money to actually go. They have to pay the FIA to even allow them to race there.
Yeah. which
So
is kind of mind-boggling. Obviously,
FIA
it brings in
FIA just has
revenue,
a
right?
racket that makes money, man.
Yeah, like you go to Coda, there's gonna be what 450,000 people there.
Yeah.
A lot of them are
Yeah,
probably
like,
buying beer.
they
They're
should
buying
hopefully
food.
be making money, the venue too,
Yeah,
from
obviously they're paying whatever they say. It's for easy math. Let's just say $1 million.
for like the race winning and stuff.
No, to host the race, right? So Coda's
Oh.
going to pay $1 million. I don't know these numbers. These are just
Yes.
$1 million, but you're going to have 450,000 people there. I can't do the math that fast in my head, but I'm sure like you factor in everybody buying food, drink,
Yeah,
merch.
one beer that's $12.
Yeah, probably more than that.
Maybe.
I'm curious. Actually, I'll let you know in October how much.
Yeah, let me know.
I've been to some actually sporting events here are not bad compared to like California.
Yeah.
Like California beers, like you go to a baseball game, it's $18 or $20. That's like domestic versus premium, right?
Yeah.
And then here, I feel like I could go somewhere and it's like easily $5 swing. Like I paid like $13 to like $15. I will say though, we went to Boots in the Park last weekend, and beers there were ungodly expensive.
Really?
Yeah, they're like $20 beers. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
For the Cardinals? Or I mean the Diamondbacks?
It was no, it was a country concert. So, but it was just like nothing
Well, so
fancy.
we went. I was upset there wasn't like a coffee place in the stadium.
No, at
The
Cardinals or
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it was like all these beer stuff, which fine. Like, of course
Yeah.
you're gonna have that, but like not one
They
coffee.
didn't have like coffee at the snack
Like
bar.
coffee and gelato. A lot of places, like not
Oh
that
come on,
we
we're not
found.
fucking Italian.
No, but a lot of places do have gelato. There was gelato places.
I haven't seen a single gelato
Maybe I
place.
should move to.
No, there's a gelato place in Desert Ridge. Sorry, we're getting off topic, but
So speaking of just the sustainability, right? So
yeah.
Max made a comment on basically
how things should be not ran, but like a better calendar.
he says I think that they've made quite a few adjustments. They're still
2025 is still
jumping.
dog shit.
Yeah, they're still jumping back and forth quite a bit from, let's say, like the Americas to Europe to Asia to the Americas.
They
right?
start off good. They start off like they go like China, like all that
Kind of
Asia, Australia. It's like
Yeah.
Asia. It's like Australia, Asia. And they jump over to like Europe. Then I think it goes US. Then it goes back to Europe though. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like why wouldn't you just like swing it just around the globe?
I
Like it's
know.
not.
Well, that's what I feel like logically
it
that
shouldn't
makes
be that hard.
sense. And I don't know if they're shifting around like potential weather or something like that. I don't know.
Clearly, we know they don't care about weather because we saw Spa 2 years ago. It was an absolute
That's
shit
true.
show.
Which I just that's been resurfacing too. The 1998 with Coulthard and
Oh yeah, yeah.
Schumacher and
T-boning each other. And
yeah. So I watched that this morning on the F1 Rewind or what do they call it? Archives.
Yeah,
the archive races.
The Vault or
Yeah, which those are really fantastic. Not advocating that you should buy the membership, but if you do, there's a lot of cool. They have like basically almost all the races.
That's cool.
Which is cool and like in full, which is
Actually,
fun. It's crazy to see the difference
between
between the technology used, like for the cars, for the filming, for the edits, like
right.
all of that, just how much nicer and well put together, like as technology gets better. So yeah, to Max's comment, we agree. They should definitely be considering more of like just one geographical location and move around. I think that makes sense. I did read an article that was saying that whatever they're doing to try and become carbon neutral is actually working.
It's not. I could
And
scientifically prove it's not.
And in doing so, they're considering bringing back like the V10 engines, I think, or something. Like they're considering bringing back a bigger engine. So right now they're the V6 hybrid. So they're considering bringing a bigger engine for more noise. Because they're starting to figure out the reliability and the sustainability as far as the fuel and stuff goes. So I think that's kind of cool. I'd love to see the V10 back.
Oh yeah, I mean it sounds great. It's a way better car. What pisses me off? Okay, we're in a motorsport, right? Like you're burning fossil fuels. We're burning rubber. Like, we don't.
Give a
This
shit.
this is good. Yeah, no, like this is gonna sound bad, but like, dude, like I don't care. Like I'm watching a car go as fast as fucking possible on running on like it's like me running on caffeine and dreams on the most
Yeah.
amount of caffeine I can stick in my system, and I want to go as fast as fucking possible. So like you're preaching to the wrong fucking crowd. The only people that care in F1 is Lewis Hamilton and maybe a couple of his fangirls. That's it. Like nobody else cares about like sustainability. And the only reason why they talk about sustainability is because it's a
It's a
hot button.
topic.
It's a hot topic. It's a hot button that makes you
Yeah.
think they give a shit.
Well,
And so that they can sell more. That's what.
I think
That's calendar pulled up.
that's a pretty big word there. Pretty hot take. No, so I mean, I think recycling's a fucking scam. I think electric cars is a fucking scam. You know, like
There's
it,
one thing we
there's one thing that we definitely I think can agree on is all of that is like the making the people think that they have the power to do all of this change is the biggest scam,
Yeah,
right?
'cause
Like
it
this,
doesn't
so
it
then
doesn't matter at the
the
end of the day.
corporations can still be doing all this crazy shit and dumping chemicals everywhere, and
Yeah.
like nobody's looking there because we're all focused on, oh, if I recycle one fucking bottle, then I can save the world. It's like,
Yeah.
I think we're past that, obviously,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people are starting to recognize. And then now the next thing is all this electric cars and all this shit. And then now, oh, we're coming to find out how terrible they are for the universe, how
Mhm.
actually powering the grid to support those electric cars is way worse than just burning fossil fuels.
Actually, I saw a pretty funny comment. Person's like, "Oh yeah, I save X amount on fuel every year." Actually, EVs are actually driven less than gas cars. So yeah, great. You went and bought an EV. And you just don't drive it as much because A, you probably can't go as far,
You definitely can't.
and
It's not
B, like
convenient.
yeah, no, it's
And
not
if you
convenient
live
to
in
stop every 30
California,
minutes.
you
Like,
gotta fucking spend a full day to go charge it.
yeah, that or like there's always somebody in line at the fucking at the supercharger.
That's what I mean, like lines and lines for the
Yeah.
superchargers.
Or
It's
it's like, yeah, you can do it at your house, but then there's a rolling blackout, so then you can't charge it at your house.
Totally.
So it's like, okay, cool. Now you're rolling around with a generator. Sweet. You should have just kept your fucking.
yeah, which runs off
You'd be
gas.
better off. I'm all for it. Like, go get a hybrid. That's cool.
I think hybrid's great.
Hybrid is cool. You get great
Kind
gas.
of the best of both
great
worlds. You get just
fuel
like
economy.
the hybrids, you know.
Or go buy a really good economical fuel
Eco
efficient car.
diesel or something.
Yeah, you get an eco diesel that's burning on all the negative effects of gasoline. So that'd be better off for the environment running diesel, even though everybody thinks diesel's fucking evil. I don't know how we got into this topic, but or just go get a fucking Honda Civic that gets 35 miles to the gallon. That'd be more beneficial than you getting mining uranium and lithium and all this shit out of the ground.
Awful.
It's terrible for you. And then you're gonna own that car for fucking 5-6 years at best, and then you're gonna sell it, go get the next one, and then that car, what happens with it? Yeah, once the battery, for it to make a difference in an electric vehicle, you have to keep it for 7 years to see the benefits. So not only do you have to keep it longer than you normally hold your car anyways, I think because of car prices right now, people are holding their cars longer. I will say that. Actually, I'd see some stupid.
But once the car reaches that end,
then you're getting rid of it. Okay, maybe you keep it 8 years. So yeah, you collected the benefits of saving the world for 1 year, and then you sell it off. Maybe you buy it for a second-hand car, and then the battery dies at year 10, and you have to replace the whole battery. But then the battery you have to go throw in a field that's next to a school in 20 years, and then all the kids get cancer. So congratulations, you didn't save the environment. You gave a bunch of children cancer, and we're all still gonna die.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we got on here, but I got the calendar.
Because it's relevant to, I think, sustainability.
Yeah, that's what it was, sustainability. So calendar starts in Melbourne, in March. Then it goes Shanghai, Suzuka, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and then it jumps to Miami.
Okay, so it's like, okay, all those are generally over there.
Yeah, cool. Like you can make your way through Australia, Asia, Middle East, and then cool. Okay, cool. We'll go this way. That's fine. But then from Miami, you go straight back to Italy.
Yeah.
So Imola is on the calendar. Then you go to Monaco. Okay, that makes sense. You're kind of in the same general facility. Spain. Okay, that makes sense. But then you jump back to Canada. So okay, now we're back in fucking Canada.
Yeah.
But then from Canada, you go back to Austria
Right.
for the Red Bull Ring. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Then you go to Silverstone
So I wonder if
to
they're
Spa.
having.
Those are kind of close, I
I
guess.
wonder if they're having to coordinate around other events that are run at those tracks.
That's the only thing that would make sense. You know, like kind of like when Supercross runs, they have to do it in the winter when nobody's playing in baseball and football stadiums, right? When it's like off season for all that stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe, but then half these
But
events
also, it's like
run on the same weekend. Like
also,
F2
yeah.
is running,
Oh,
or
yeah, well-
GT runs the weekend before, or something.
Right,
Long Beach
right.
Grand Prix, you have like 20 other races happening at the Long Beach Grand Prix. You
Yeah.
have super trucks, you have Formula Drift, you have all this shit going on.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, it is interesting. Also to think. I mean, maybe because we're a little biased, but I think Formula One in our minds is kind of like that pinnacle motorsport.
yeah,
I would think that they would kind of have a little bit of
dictatorship, I guess.
pull,
Or like, yeah,
to
like, hey,
say,
like we want to be here
actually,
at
we
this
want
time
to
of
be
the
here
year.
this weekend, and
You
everybody
need to
else has
move,
to
yeah.
adjust. You know,
I would say
but
Formula One is more popular than, you know, the touring or GT3,
Yeah.
whatever.
yeah, I mean,
So-
there's obviously more money, I think, too.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's interesting.
Just had another wild topic. I sent you or you sent me, I sent you, whatever. The winners of constructors last year payouts or something like that.
Yeah,
Red Bull got like 160 million. Was it million or billion?
million.
Million. Okay. 160 million. Then you dropped I think Mercedes was like 120 million. And then it went all the way down. Still last place, still got
Like 60 million.
60 million.
Like that.
I think it was
like,
Williams got 60 million.
I think it was Haas actually.
Oh yeah, sorry. So they get $60 million,
Yeah.
right, for finishing last. And you're just like, okay, you guys paid them 160 million to win the constructors. So yeah, you see that breakdown, you're like, okay, yeah, that makes sense on why you want to finish up.
Yeah, because even just one place is
It's like 20 mil,
considerable. Yeah.
20 to 40 mil, depending on what position you're in, right? But then you think, okay, they're paying that out to the teams, which are but then they also are paying the drivers pretty big purses, I'm sure, for each win and slash the drivers championship.
Yeah.
Max I think Max made 70 million last year. I think that was the number.
Somewhere around there.
And he was still he wasn't even in like the top 10 for them, or I think he was top 20 top 30. He wasn't even in like most highest paid athlete.
Yeah.
Which blows my mind too.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like a lot of soccer players
Or up there.
are up there, like hundreds of millions of dollars.
And there's a couple golfers. I looked at the list. There's golfer and then one or two tennis players. I'm like, tennis? Tennis is on to me. It's like so boring. People talk about golf.
To me is boring too.
Dude, I'd rather watch. I watch paint dry over watching tennis. To be 100% honest.
I don't watch either.
So the fact that tennis is so big blows my mind. I mean, I get it. It's hard. I'm not gonna say it's easy.
Oh, yeah,
it's hard.
Dude, golf is hard. Like everything's so technical.
Yeah. But it's like
But
and then when you play golf, you watch it and you're like, God, that was sick. Like, holy moly.
you have a respect for what they can do.
And like Raina got into golf and like she can actually sit there and watch golf with me now. She's like, wow. Like she's like, you know what I mean?
Appreciation.
I'm sure that's something like you with wrestling or lifting
any
or
sport,
whatever. Yeah, so anyways, the FIA, we're never gonna get anywhere because we just talk shit about the FIA the entire time. I mean, but
they probably have
it.
They
Somebody's
probably
gotta
have
say
a
it.
ban on our
That's fine.
They're suppressing our views.
Somebody's got to say how dumb they are. And speaking of dumb stuff, this is a great segue into my least favorite person,
Zach Brown,
in Formula One.
So, okay.
I used to like him, and I really want to punch him in the
This is what I find is kind of interesting, right? So he is no longer team principal.
Yeah, he technically got demoted, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but yet he is still CEO or something? Yeah. Because he's at the racetrack every weekend as if he's still the principal, because all the publicity is always talking about him. I actually forgot that they had another team principal until Lando Norris won, and
Andre Stella or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But she's made some stupid comments too.
So
everybody in McLaren is brainwashed. I hope our thing picks up on that because it is brainwashed, I swear. Okay, let's just start with the first one that really blew my mind. I'm not going to quote it verbatim, word for word. If you want to get all fired up, you can DM me, whatever. But basically, Zach said there's probably 7 drivers in the world right now that could win, and Max isn't. The only reason Max is as good as he is because he's on a Red Bull. That's like the paraphrase version of this, right?
Yeah, kind of stating that if Max was in another car, we'd probably have potentially 6 to 7 other world champions.
I would be willing to bet a lot of money. You put Max in the McLaren from last weekend, he beats everybody. You put
Potentially.
Max in a Ferrari, he's guaranteed on the podium, if not beating everybody.
I think it'd be interesting. I don't necessarily
like we can't say, oh, throw him in a Haas.
You're not gonna like this.
You can't say throw him in a Haas because that's not like a fair comparison, right? Because we know Ocon's not going to go win. I don't
necessarily
lower teams are not going to go win.
I don't necessarily think that Zach Brown is completely off his rocker when he says that. So I think if Red Bull wasn't as strong as they are, like there could potentially be a lot of other drivers that, if given a better car, would be winning. I don't necessarily think. I do think Max is good. I think it would be interesting to see Max in a different car
for sure
and see how he does, because we just don't know. We've never seen him in another car.
Right.
And you see people like Daniel, who was crushing Red Bull, go somewhere else and can't fucking do anything.
Yeah.
Right. So potentially to do that, then you also have Lewis, who went from one car. Granted, Mercedes still same powertrain as McLaren was and all that. So it'll be interesting to see how he does next year.
Ferrari,
totally different, right?
Like new equipment altogether. It's like going from Honda to a KTM.
Yeah,
totally different.
Yeah. And then like Alonso, who's a great driver, goes to a lot of other teams, still can't produce anything. So I think it would be interesting to see, like, maybe there is some sort of validity to that statement. I also think that Max is really hyper focused, really on top of his game, really, so I don't know. I don't necessarily agree fully, but I don't necessarily disagree.
I could see the point you're making. The only thing I think is different is like Max, and we've talked about this, so we're kind of beating a dead horse at this point. Max is just like in that elite class right now.
Yeah.
And even Rosberg wanted to say it, like you have to throw Max up in there in the greatest of all time era. Like Nico,
he's certainly on form right now to where not many people can.
Yeah, he's like
close, right? Lando's starting to get there,
but Lando needs a lot more wins and a lot more cars, at least a title to be considered.
I don't think Lando's a great right now.
No,
not at all. I have one race win finally.
Yeah,
but I think he's starting to catch Max in this season.
Yeah.
Like right now, and dude, things could change in a fucking race, and all of a sudden Red Bull's getting everything right. And it just seems like the past couple weekends, Red Bull's been a little bit on the back foot, which, considering the last couple seasons, has been a little exciting as a fan.
For sure.
Like, oh shit, all right. Like, and then McLaren's been kind of dialing things in, both, Piastri too.
The one thing I will say, I think Zach says this he's riding his high horse right now. They got 2 good results.
Yes.
Let's not forget, a year ago, you were negative 50 seconds getting lapped. Hey.
Yeah.
You have, so, and then on top of that, like I said, I think you could still put Max in any of the relatively top performing cars.
Yeah.
I'd go as far to bet that you could put him in a midfield car and he would still be a top 5 driver. I think he'd still be guaranteed points all day long.
Yeah.
Because he's just like that elite of a
Mercedes
specimen.
Guys are still making points.
Right. And I think you could put Max in a Mercedes and he would still drive the piss out of the car and he would still probably outperform all the same guys that are like talking shit about him. Because I think they're mad.
Yeah, think about when Lewis was in that position.
Yeah.
Everybody was gunning for him. Everybody was downplaying his success. Everybody's saying, even
did
right? Like,
do you hear Zach or Horner saying like, well, Lewis just had the car, and if he was in any other car, he wouldn't be that fast.
I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't. It's just like such an out there
7 titles, right? So maybe, yeah. I think what's unfortunate is Zach Brown likes to cut other people down.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like, why do you have to essentially attack Max?
Yeah. Like you're trying to discredit him.
Yeah.
When it's trying to praise Lando, I'm like, dude, you've had Lando for how long? Like, Lando should have left you a long time ago because you haven't given him the tools he's needed.
Yes.
All day. Like, Lando, as much as I love Lando should have left that last contract negotiation, like, gotten which there's not that many better cars, minus the Red Bull.
That's the thing. Where would he go?
I think Red Bull would have snatched him up.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure.
Over Sergio.
Yeah, all day.
Yeah.
They would have had a fucking powerhouse team then.
That would be
They would add
that would
Daniel
actually be
and
cool to
Max
see.
2.0 though, because then they would have been trying to kill each
That's
other
true.
probably.
That's true. So what's interesting is what I've started to see as well is little glimpses of like old Max. Like now that there's some pressure.
Calm down.
No, I said little
Yeah.
glimpses. Little glimpses. I think it's easy for somebody who's out there in the front winning all the time to be really relaxed and to not be an asshole essentially. But I think if we start seeing somebody actually challenging him again, I think it could be interesting to see his behavior, right?
He did get a little spicy with his engineer.
Yeah.
But I think they both get a little firecracker with each other, and
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
it'd be funny though to see if like his engineer left him, and then what would happen? Would he just move on? Like I think his engineer definitely helps him, but at the same time, I think Max and stuff together, like he's like, whatever, you're just there.
I'm gonna do what I want
You're
anyway.
there to tell me my stats and figure it out.
You're there to shut up when I tell you to shut up.
Yeah.
When I'm pushing.
Yeah. Don't talk in the breaking.
Yeah.
There's another. Oh, and
Lando
Stella
had said something too, like
Yeah.
I'm going as fast
He's
as
like,
I
calm
can.
down,
Like,
leave me
I
alone.
am pushing.
He sounded more desperate than like Max was like,
yeah.
shut the fuck up, leave me alone.
Max is just very abrasive.
Still, no, for sure. And I think I can appreciate Max because he's very much like me, just very blunt and to the point. He's like, dude, like I'm doing, like leave me the fuck alone. I'm gonna do it. Stella's made some comments too. Like the one does not come to mind, but similar comments like, oh, like we're gonna get Red Bull and blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you guys are still so far off Red Bull though. Like,
Yeah.
this weekend was
like
the
the
first
confidence,
weekend that
but-
you guys like made a stride at attacking Red Bull.
Yeah.
Up until this point, you guys were nowhere close to Red Bull.
Yeah, even Miami, I
Was
wouldn't say it
strategy,
was
I
a
think.
fluke, but strategy definitely played a role.
I'm actually curious. Buy me some time here. I'm gonna see if I can find his exact.
While we take a little break, we just want to, huge shout out to our sponsor, Blood Racing. Go and check them out for all of your lubricant needs. I'm about to do an oil change myself.
Oh, yeah. Do you still have oil? Or you get order some?
Nope, I've got some oil. I
Oh,
do
so
need. Oh, you know what?
Zach Brown will
I
be long-term
need-
deal to 2030.
As what?
Oh, the other comment, I do think Lando
Nicer?
can beat CEO. Sorry,
Yeah, he is
I
CEO.
must have mentally thought that. I do think Lando can beat Max in a straight fight. Me and Zach have said it.
Okay.
Me and Zach
If
have
they
both
both
said
had
that.
the same car?
Yes, I think it would be a
Maybe.
close battle. I still think Max would have that edge. I think Max would be able to. Max would be willing to push himself like I'm gonna do or die, and I don't know if Lando's there yet.
Yeah, Max is. So the more I learn about
Like-
Senna,
Yeah.
and even Schumacher,
Mhm.
I feel like Max is kind of that style of driver where it's I'm gonna make the move, and
You're either gonna
you're
be
either
prepared.
gonna let me pass or we're gonna crash.
Yeah.
Like that's, and I don't necessarily love that mentality. I respect that mentality,
Mhm.
but I think it's a little bullyish, right?
In unpopular opinion, I think you need that because I think Lewis is the type that's like, well, I'm faster than you, get out of my way, and he doesn't want to have anybody put up a fight with him. And Max is just like, I'm gonna go by you and either figure it
Yeah.
out or we're like
Well, I
both
think-
going out.
I think Lewis is a little bit more finessive about it, where Max is like, I'm just gonna like I think Lewis is gonna try not to have an accident, where I think Max doesn't give a shit, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Generally.
yeah.
Generally.
I still don't to an extent. I still think I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I think Max will bulldog his way in. He's a bulldog, and
Yeah.
like Lewis is the prim and proper way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's
Yeah.
two ways to drive,
There's
and
a
that
bully and there's
that goes
finesse.
no, it's not finesse. It's like move out of my way because I'm prim and proper,
No, I don't
and I'm
think that.
faster.
I
But
think I
as soon as
think
they-
Max is more that personally. Like again, I haven't seen much of it at all this season,
Mhm.
but prior to him winning the world championship, I remember even watching practices and he's yelling like, "Why are these people not getting out of my way?" And like people are like all doing push laps, but he's expecting people because he's Max in a Red Bull to just move. I don't, and maybe
I'm
again,
listening. I'm looking up. quotes,
yeah, maybe
so
again
I
I'm
have
biased,
to-
and so
you are biased.
I-
100%.
well, you are too.
I'm not biased at all.
You don't
I'm
think so?
No, I'm objective.
I don't know.
And
I
I
think
think-
you're a little biased against Lewis.
No, I could just see like objectively. I'm not a fan of Lewis. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Lewis. I can
Yeah.
appreciate him as being one of the greats, put him on the Mount Rushmore of the greatest of all time. But at the same time, I think I haven't been wrong this far. I said soon if Mercedes doesn't figure it out this year, he will move.
Oh yeah,
What is he
no,
doing? He's moving.
you're right. You're
Okay.
right.
This is
I'll
not
give
thrown.
that
This
to
is
you.
not like thrown in anybody's face either. This is more so just like trying to respectfully be like, okay, so like Lewis jump ship. If he doesn't have results, he will jump ship, right? So
Yeah.
that's exhibit A. B, he's like, I've earned this much. And he was also coming up through a different era, right? He was the elite because he was that young kid. And he was like, it's like fast twitch versus run, like a long distance runner. He had like that fast twitch and he was just coming out blowing everybody out because he was next level.
Yeah.
It's the same thing we're seeing in motocross right now with Jet. And it's like, except Jet's on the younger side of that, right? He's not like, get out of my way, I'm faster than you. It's just like he's obviously grinding through it, earning his respect. But Lewis now I think is at the point where he's like, well, I've been there, done that. Everybody knows how fast I really am. They should just move for me. Like when he gets a certain, I think I noticed it
I
more with
think
certain people. Like
maybe.
certain people, if they dogfight, if they fight him too much and they don't just get out of the way, and he's just like, and he starts complaining. And I get
Well,
it, Max has complained too, but he definitely starts like
I think
letting it know.
I think he's complaining more about the car than about other drivers fighting him.
Say that one more time.
I think Lewis is complaining more about the car not being
Well, like
fast enough
dirty air, and yeah.
versus like I don't think he complains about other drivers fighting him. I think he complains like, dude, I can't get around this guy. This guy's in a fucking Haas. Like, why is our car so slow?
I think this year and last year,
Yeah.
he's definitely. I've seen that a lot. He's like, why? Like we shouldn't even be talking to these people right now. But yeah, we're in the carpool lane, and I can't go around the guy. Like,
Yeah,
why is he
like-
doing 65 in the carpool? We should be doing
Even
80.
with
Like,
DRS, right?
yeah.
Even with DRS, like they're pulling away. Like this is wrong.
yeah.
I'm leaving you and going to Ferrari. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a quote from. There's one quote I remember seeing from Stella, and I can't remember, and it like blew my mind. I'm like, you were that stupid to say that.
I think you got to be a little delusional to think you're gonna win the world championship or like to get there. You know?
And then there's a comment that's like, oh, Lando's world champ or like world champ material. First, do I believe that? Yeah, I think Lando could, but he needs a lot of shit to go right. I don't think Lando will win a world title at McLaren unless maybe if they get it right in the next gen car.
Yeah, if they really start.
I think with especially how the season started, I think Max could still coast it in, be a top 3 guy every weekend. And
Is he ahead of Piastri in the championship right now?
Lando,
I think he is.
Lando's
Right?
third, Piastri's fifth.
Okay, I would almost bet that Oscar is going to be right there with him,
I think Oscar will leave McLaren. He'll see it.
probably.
Because and I commented on the Australian pod. I forgot what the name of it's called, but they were talking about how Zach is very buddy with Lando, right? Which we all know that.
Yeah,
But then I
but he
think
also did that shady deal with Piastri.
well, he did that shady deal with Piastri. Obviously, to help them, they get 2 all-star drivers. But he also didn't give Daniel like the time of day and shit canned him and bought him out of his contract, which great. I hope you burn all that money in your bank account. But at the same time, I think the same shit will happen to. They will. Lando is the Max of McLaren.
Yeah.
And Piastri will eventually see it, unless Piastri is like kicking Daniel or Lando's ass every weekend.
Yeah,
He will not get the time of day, and like Piastri is going to have to jump to a team to be
You
the
think-
number one
so
guy.
it's
Piastri
almost-
won't be the number one guy.
it's almost like Max and Ricardo
Yeah,
a little bit,
Yeah, yeah.
unless Piastri becomes like that. Really, would be more like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
because
So it's like it's similar, I guess, to Checo and or Lewis and George, right? Like Lewis is technically the guy, but George is outperforming him.
yeah,
That's how it.
That's
That's
what
how
I
it'd
mean,
be.
yeah,
But like
yeah.
right now, Lando is outperforming. They will always prioritize Lando or Piastri, I think.
I think it's going to be interesting to see because Leclerc has always been Ferrari's
Yeah, number one. Yeah.
right, and I think Lewis will be number 1 next year.
I think so because
You
they're like,
know.
yo, we've had you for how long now, and you haven't delivered. Like you delivered wins, sure, but
Yeah,
you
no,
have,
he's
and
great,
you
but-
delivered polls, but you haven't
Yeah.
delivered like the holy grail that
Oh,
we've been searching for.
Here's a quote that I wanted to summarize was Fred Vasseur talking about Mercedes how, oh yeah, like I don't know the exact context, but I think a reporter or somebody said, oh, like, and maybe Mercedes said, oh, like we've gained a little bit on Ferrari or so. I don't know exactly where it
I
came
think I
up,
know which one you're talking
but
about.
Fred basically was like, oh yeah, they were only 26 seconds behind, Charles at the end of the race, so I guess they have improved a little
They made
bit.
up a second or something like that. It wasn't like instead of being 28, they were
Kind of
26. So it's
like,
like
I'm really not worried about Mercedes right now. Like they're not even close to
it
us.
was probably like a jab because like last year they barely got it because and also I think they botched Carlos's pit strategy last year. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
multiple times.
So that was on Mercedes.
Well,
That
last
wasn't.
year was better. The previous year was awful, like on everybody's strategy.
Oh yeah, no
So
for sure.
they've improved a lot, and I think having Fred there has maybe made a huge difference.
Yeah, whatever it was, whether it's morale, whether it's he brought people in, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of shit that fires me up. And obviously it's just my opinion, we have differencing opinions, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I think there's valid points from both sides. I think if Max stays, I think will he be there till 2030? I don't know if he'll be there that long, but there's a unique theory I heard that he'll wait out 2025, collect his title again, 26 sit out a year, watch what happens, who has the fast car, and he'll come back in 27 technically, and just have the
Whatever
pick up the
team is,
litter
yeah.
because his determination, right, wherever he goes, he wants to have the best car.
Yeah. I
So
mean, just like Lewis, right?
yeah, for sure. Just Lewis has gotten definitely that. I don't want to say short end of the stick. Like obviously you negotiate your deals, right? So it's like I did hear that Mercedes offered Carlos a 1 year deal and he didn't take it, which I was surprised by that.
Where is he gonna go?
I heard Audi's back on the table or still on the table.
Yeah, I think so too, but they just signed Hulkenberg, right?
Yeah, Hulkenberg's the only guy they have locked in.
Yeah, I heard Bottas might be going to Williams.
I saw that too.
Pretty cool. I
So
like Bottas.
yeah, I think that would be good. That'd be. I feel like that could be a powerful combo. Alex
Him
and
and
him,
Albon?
both
Yeah.
experienced guys.
Yeah.
Both can drive if they have the right equipment underneath them.
Well, and James Vall knows him from Mercedes too,
Oh yeah,
so they might have a good relationship.
I heard James. I heard James is going to be leaving, or he got demoted, or something like that.
I didn't hear anything.
I read that somewhere,
Hmm.
so I was really confused by that.
One point that I was kind of curious about, or not curious, but that I wanted to make a point to address is Max also won the 24-hour race at the Nürburgring,
Dude,
virtual race,
yeah.
right? I was really interested going into Imola weekend if he was going to be really exhausted from just staying up racing sim.
Right.
And I started seeing like some fatigue or like some little mistakes early on in some practices. And I was in my head kind of thinking like, oh man, like, is he just a little, is that edge kind of dulled a little bit because he's in two places at once. But he managed to pull it out. I thought that was really cool.
No, that's super rad. And then I saw a funny comment. It's like, "Oh, did you have to ask permission?" He's like, "No, I'm a grown ass man. Like, I know how to prioritize my day."
I thought that was interesting because of all these F2 drivers are getting penalized
For
and
doing
like
other
fines
racing.
for doing other racing. Yeah, no.
I think
Like, I
that's.
wonder what their rules are, or
think
who gets to do what, and
I think it has to be. I think it was like they were doing a full different series.
yeah, but this is a whole different series.
No, not like sim racing. Like they
Right,
were doing
yeah,
like a full they're going racing
actual
GT,
racing. So
GT3, and then they're coming back and racing before F2.
do you think it's about like
Because if F1 tries to dictate like, oh yeah, you can't go play home and play your PlayStation, I'm like, get fucked.
yeah, but obviously, yeah. I get what you're saying. So is it some sort of like injury risk? If you get injured and then you can't drive in Formula 2 or Formula 1, I don't know.
Maybe.
Or is it that it's not an FIA? Because the FIA
Sanctioned.
governs a lot of different
Right.
racing. Like the WEC, I think, is governed by the FIA,
The world. No, it's not.
which is the rally.
That is rally, right?
I think it is rally. I don't know what it stands for, but
I'm pretty sure WC was rally. Okay, yeah.
it is. But it's governed by the FIA, and I think they govern a lot of other sports too. So I don't know. It's so interesting. So can they do other sports that are or other racing that's governed by FIA or
maybe? Going back to what your comment was though on Max being tired, I did hear that he came out of the car like he was definitely smoked after the race. He's like he like had to earn it, but I do think he didn't mind having to earn it. Like he was just like, cool, like I'm fine to work for it. Let's go. Like
Yeah.
and he hasn't been challenged in a while. Which who knows how much he really was challenged. Obviously, he's probably trying to fight to keep the car between the lines and not make the mistakes and just keep it alive.
Yeah, I think we forget how mentally exhausting it is
Yeah.
to hit your marks every single corner, every single time, because they are so good.
Right.
Like it's easy for us to see, let's say, a Mazepin or somebody who's like just can't get it together
Right.
and be like, oh my god, they're awful because you are comparing them to the other best of the best in the
Well, even
entire world, and it's crazy. Like think about racing on PlayStation. Like even just that alone, where
yeah.
there's no risk if you hit the wall,
Yeah, yeah.
like and how hard it is every single lap
Hit the
to
same
like
line.
hit the breaking point and like even judging
Shift
tire
points.
wear.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, okay, well, my brakes are hotter. I have to brake sooner because I don't have as much grip
Yeah.
or whatever. Or my tires are falling off. I have to brake later or sooner. I mean, like
Yeah.
all of those and judging that every single corner.
Well, just look at like even Logan, right? Like, yeah, he's a last place guy, but at the same time, like he's still fast. But he still is like Max can hit. And I've told friends this in other racing. It's like, yeah, that guy can rip off. Yeah, you might be able to be within like a couple tenths of his fast lap, but he's doing that
Every lap.
4 out of 5 laps.
Yeah.
And his bad lap's only off by a tenth.
Right.
But Logan, like, yeah, he can rip off that one heater, but then he's 2 tenths slower here. The next lap
Yeah.
he's 3 tenths. The next lap he's half a second. Then he gets back
Well,
to
and
it.
it's also
So you're just
kinda
bouncing all over the place. You're not just like hitting the tick
it's
marks.
also crazy to think we're talking tenths of a second.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like
Like Alonso in like 19
5
had
seconds or
the fastest lap for like 3 or 4
yeah,
laps of the race.
yeah. And like granted, this generation of car, everything with the cost cap and all the rules and everything's trying to make all the cars tighter. I think they've done a great job of that because we can see in qualifying, like from first to 15th, there's less than a second between
Yeah.
them all. Like that's crazy.
I mean, like, and just like, I feel like they should be in Q3 anyways, but like the Cash App, the V Carbs, they were in Q3,
Yeah.
but they were like on the bubble like a lot of the time. So it's
Dude,
like,
Hulkenberg?
I think the only one that's
He jumped
dude,
up into Q3?
yeah, Hero. Well, he's been consistently in Q3, so it's like sick. You're like, cool, you're one lap pace. So then it's like, how do you set up your car? Do you like just want to throw down heaters and get into Q3?
Yeah.
But then, or do you set it up for the race? I don't know.
Well, we've seen mostly from them in the past, Hulkenberg and Magnussen, that Hulkenberg generally qualifies better. Magnussen generally has better race pace.
Right.
But the last couple races, Hulkenberg, and maybe with the help of Magnussen,
Yeah.
has been getting points.
Now he's like,
Magnussen's on the verge of getting a race ban.
K-Mag's like, yo, you need to start playing defender so I can get some points so I can get a contract. You got your contract.
Yeah,
already.
yeah.
You don't need to be like,
Like,
we don't need to impress
now
anybody
hook
anymore.
me up.
Yeah, yeah.
Or he's gonna be suck my balls, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I guess to wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Yeah. Monaco here. What time is your thing?
5.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, no, it's fine. Monaco. I mean, we all know Monaco is just a quali race, basically. If you do well in quali, then you will not shuffle around too much unless you break your car. So
yeah, unless you hit the wall.
yeah. Obviously, there's some areas you can make moves, or it's like it's all about strategy too. I think like, okay, you're gonna overtake somebody, and we're gonna while they're in the pit.
Well, we've seen in the past, basically in Q3, make your first lap the best one and then crash. So qualifying ends.
Ferrari people
did. Well, it was Leclerc, right? And then wasn't
like
it
Checo?
Yeah. But I don't think he was on pole, was he?
I don't know if he was on pole or if he did. Well, he obviously didn't do it on purpose, but
no, but I think Max was on pole and he did
maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But interesting.
You Ferrari people are the problem. Because your boy's going there, so you're classified as.
I'm now like transitioning. I'm gonna be a Tifosi.
So funny. Yeah, I mean, be smart with your picks. Yeah, Monaco. I mean, yes, I'm excited. It's a great race, but at the same time, I'm not looking forward to it because I think it's gonna be boring as usual, unless you get some crazy like weather that plays a factor.
Yeah, weather. It's always a possibility.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
Actually, I can check the weather before we call off here. I'm pretty sure. Does it tell you the weather on that app? I thought it did.
For the F1?
Yeah.
I don't know.
For Monaco. I thought it said the circuit.
Guys, make sure that you smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't so you get all of our notifications or turn noties on. We appreciate Yeah, I know it's
I
stupid,
hate
but
this
we
smash.
appreciate your guys'
Give it a little
support.
poke.
We appreciate heart it on Instagram.
Click it.
Uh,
78 laps. I can't
spit on it if you have to.
That's something I would say. Destination go.
But
I
really,
can't
guys,
find the weather, so I don't know.
we
what the hell's
appreciate you.
happening.
We don't know what the weather's going to be like in Monaco, but hopefully it's an exciting race. We'll bring you that. Thank you guys.
Surprise twist, Daniel comes back for redemption.
Full flop round 2.
That'd be so sick. That'd be
Alright,
that would
guys.
make my day. So,
Cheers
cheers.
out.
Oh yeah.